Welcome to Venture with Joe and Cody, where we take a deep dive into the minds of leaders and innovators making a real impact today. I'm Joe.
And I'm Cody. And we're here to bring you the raw stories, the successes, and the setbacks that these trailblazers have experienced in their journey to where they are today.
Every week, we sit down with a new guest who's ready to share their insight and advice on business, entrepreneurship, and making a difference in their community. From local community members to industry experts, you're going to get the unfiltered truth behind their success.
So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the business world, join us for a journey of learning and inspiration.
So let's grab a drink, settle in, and let's get started. This is Venture with Joe and Cody. Hey everyone, welcome to Venture with Joe and Cody. My name is Joe Skipper. I'm the owner of Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty up here in Portland, Oregon. I'm with my buddy Cody Wilhelm with Residential Mortgage up in the Vancouver area. Hello, Cody.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, and you are in Vancouver, but you serve multiple states. I just want to make that clear to everyone, right?
Yes. Yep. I reside in Battleground, work in Vancouver, and cover about 10 different states.
Nice. Well, we have a special guest on today, and not only special just because she shares the same last name as me, but I think that her journey is going to be a good one to talk about with different, whether you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, or you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, and especially if you're a new agent or you want to be a new agent, and you just aren't sure kind of, where to start, what's happening, the struggles that you're going through. I think our guest today is going to help you kind of guide how she got into the industry, kind of the struggles she may or may not have, and we'll go from there. But I just want to welcome Christina Skipper today. Hello, Christina.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you on. You are an employee of Skipper Realty Group. Is that right?
Oh, I think I'm my own independent contractor.
Co-owner.
Yes. But Christina, a little background on you. Christina joined us and is partnered with Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty, with me up in the Portland metro area. You have a pretty cool background, started at Oregon State University. You have been in the industry indirectly with a large bank in the lending area. And I just kind of wanted to start with just kind of your background, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got to this point today to be a real estate agent with your husband.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everyone says working with your spouse is a good idea. So we're going to test this out. I will say I grew up with parents working together, so I do know what this looks like. And just, I'm really excited. Like I said, my parents, my mom started in real estate in the mid 80s. So when I was young, and started her career after having kids and really flourished for, almost the last 40 years. My dad also became part of that about 20 years ago. So, I've been talking about closings and title and escrow and inspections, all that at the dinner table since I was really young, before I knew what any of this even meant. Like I said, we went to Oregon State, had a great time there, and I was a business major. And when I came time for graduating, I reached out to my sister's friends. They're 5 years older. So it all, graduated, gotten their careers started, and kind of looking to see what are people doing, who's hiring. And at the time, I got into a sales job, selling mortgages in a call center. So that was back in 2005. So I've definitely weathered a lot in the mortgage industry, from the boom to the crash, and went through all of that.
Was that when the times were good, or was that when the times were bad? Like, were you getting in when it was hot or when it was just about to go south?
Both. Got in when it was hot, and then that was, thinking when we bought our first place, that was like right at the height. And then came the crash. So, went through all of that with everyone, watching the news every day, seeing what exactly was happening, who was going under, working through clients with foreclosures and processing times of 6 months to a year. So, been through a lot of stresses in the industry and seen a lot of the changes. But I can say, yeah, 16 years in lending, seen it go a lot of different directions, worked with clients, been through a lot of stressful situations, been through a lot of great situations, helping people. I spent time on the phones. I spent time in management, spent time in sales performance, but all just working really in depth in the industry. So I will say, I mean, real estate, it's been in my blood. And then seeing your drive to be an entrepreneur and watching you really flourish and step into that. I am very risk averse. So, stepping into self-employment was not something I will say I even thought that I would do. So I'm excited to be taking this journey, and we'll dive in a little more in that, but that's kind of where I came from.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
it's kind of cool too.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, it's kind of cool too that you have your parents being in the industry, and then you spent so much time on the mortgage side, and now you yourself getting into the real estate side. You have probably way more knowledge overall about the whole process of things than a lot of people do. Even people that have been in it for a long time, specializing in one thing. To be able to have the knowledge in the mortgage side of it it's huge for your clients too, because you can help educate them on some of that stuff, even in the very beginning before they even really start dipping their toes in. So I would imagine that that's already kind of going to put you at an advantage already.
Yeah, I would say that's the hope. I've spent hours on the phone, I think, of over the years with my mom or my parents, talking through situations, and this is what we're seeing, this is what I'm hearing from my client. What are your thoughts with that? And so I've really been able to see how the lending process is impacting that whole transaction, and how important it is to work with people you trust, with people that can really well educate you. And I really grew up seeing, like, taking care of clients and really well informing them. And that's something I got from the company I was with too, of really fostering that relationship and doing everything you can to help set good expectations. And Joe too, like watching him walk clients through each step of the process, because we want to be the expert. You want clients to be taken care of, and it's a scary and stressful situation from start to finish. So I've seen, like I said, I've seen the good and the bad. I've seen both, how it can go. And so it's just really important to me that we take care of people.
Yeah, I think like you have an interesting past, because you were when we met, you were in the real estate, your parents were in the real estate industry, and I envied the ability for them to build their business how they wanted to build it, to be free to be with the kids, go on vacations, and still work, but still have the freedom to have what they did. And it was funny because, and you can talk a little bit about it, is that was why you didn't want to get in the industry. For the same reason that I did want to get in, you didn't want to get in. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, kind of ironic. This is where I landed. I will say it scared me to have work home with me all of the time. I did grow up with that. And I see a lot of the benefits, but like I said, our kids have to sit and listen to us at the dinner table, talk about it all the time. Sometimes as a kid, you don't necessarily know benefits that are happening as they happen. But yeah, my parents were around, or they weren't, but I, was able to, they were close enough, that I wasn't in daycare all the time. I had parents that were able to take me places, and that I just found more and more as, post COVID, going back to the office, traveling again, a lot of the pressures of being with a large corporation. I just found that it wasn't worth it with the family anymore. I like the industry, I like what I'm doing, and also been able to kind of see how Joe runs his day, how he runs his business, how we run our family. I am less the one who wants to be the first one to do that. Like I say, I don't like risk that much. I spend a lot of time in risk and compliance. So sorry, Joe, you have to hear me talk about that all the time. That's kind of my thing. But this has been really great to push me. And I feel like this last year, had some big changes with my family. My parents decided to retire. And I felt a huge a draw towards my family, towards doing something that I love, towards running my own day and, just having endless possibility. And I used to not look at that as much. I was really happy with the security. And now seeing just the possibility, is endless, and showing our kids that you can do this. You don't have to stay in something you're unhappy with forever just to get that retirement. And so, I mean, I feel like we're working hard to show them if there's something you want, you can go out there and do it.
Well, and that's a great message too, because I think that that's one of the biggest fears for anybody that's wanting to start up their own business or get into something that's commission only, whatever it is, where you're no longer getting that stable paycheck and you're relying on yourself. That is the biggest unknown and the biggest fear. But I think, like what you just said, you have to just be able to take that step and jump into it and trust in yourself and your abilities, and you have a good background of everything already, but just being able to take that next step is the biggest thing. And then once you do it, then you start to realize, okay, yes, maybe this is a little bit of a slow process, but I just need to keep going. And it's baby steps and it's baby steps. And then before you know it, you got your first client, you got your first this, and then, word starts to get out, and it changes your whole life, because now you have the flexibility, you have the ability to make it to your kids' games, to go on vacation, to set your own schedule. So it's intimidating, but it's also extremely rewarding.
100%. But you gotta dive in and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of on that topic, it sounded like, I know all this stuff, so we're doing this for the audience, but it sounded like there was, your previous career had issues that kind of spurred you to do this. Was there anything pivotal, for the people out there that are thinking about doing it? Was there anything pivotal that made you think, or any topics that you were like, this is the time, this is why I'm doing it? Is there anything that you can kind of give people that are kind of on that fence of not only getting into real estate, but getting into any business of, it's a scary world. So is there anything that changed you? I guess what I'm saying is, historically, you have been so averse to doing this that something had to have happened that you said, here it is, like, I'm going for it. Is there anything that you can share of that pivotal little moment, whether it was internal or external, that made you think, I want to be, doing my own business?
Definitely.
Besides my amazing success and having me as this amazing mentor to follow. But
yeah, besides knowing I could get on this show. Yeah, no, 100%. I will say, like I said, industry changed a lot. Roles change. When you're working for a big corporation, you just got to roll with the punches. And I'm someone that's always been able to do that. But when you get to the point that you are having to drive initiatives that you're no longer passionate about, work for people that it's hard to get behind, and when I realized I was waking up daily kind of dreading what I was doing, that impacts you personally, that impacts you professionally. You're no longer feeling, I like to do things all out, 110%. I like to be passionate about it. I know you're not always going to be doing something you love so much, but I've always been able to dive into what I'm doing, and believe what I'm promoting and believe what I'm doing. And when I've gotten to the point where I can't wake up and do that, I wake up with a pit in my stomach that I'm not in the right place anymore, that's when I realized. Also, had a big health scare in my family with my mom and my parents, that kind of drove them to retire, seeing that, life, you never know what's going to change, what's going to happen, and seeing that when things happen with family, I want to be able to be available. That was huge to me, of realizing that with our extended family, with our kids, with each other. All of that, I will say, kind of just came together, and finally was able to see that I'm not where I want to be. Like I said, I like, in general, I like the industry, and seeing kind of the legacy that my parents had built, and seeing the legacy that you've began for our family. I didn't have a question anymore. It was no longer something that I felt like I needed to resist. I felt ready to take that step.
So on that note, how do you, I know you're just getting into the real estate world and kind of the business end of things, but like, how are you figuring out the balance of personal and business? What I found in this career is it's very difficult to balance the personal and the business life because it's so intertwined with what we do, especially with technology nowadays and the ability for clients to contact you all hours of the night or all hours of the day. Are you finding it difficult to balance that? Are you figuring something out? Are you still in the midst of the struggle, or where are you at right now?
Gonna say probably in the midst. I mean, when you're harassing me at 10 o'clock to get off the computer. But that said, that tells you I love what I'm doing, and I can be really hyperactive like that. I could work on something 24 hours a day when I'm excited about it. So I'm really happy about that because I can honestly say I feel like that, and I'm excited with each person I'm working with. But biggest thing, I mean, baby steps, but really working on time blocking. There's so much you can do when you're self-employed that you can do nothing. When all of a sudden you're feeling so overwhelmed, there's so many different things. And joining real estate and joining EXP, great, super supportive, so many resources, it can be paralyzing. So that's where, I'm a huge OneNote user. I can do a whole podcast on OneNote for you another time.
We may have you do it.
Yeah. I run my life on OneNote. So really scheduling things, time blocking, making a plan ahead. If you don't plan ahead, all of a sudden, okay, great. Now we have to pick up kids and I didn't get anything done. So I've definitely had plenty of those days, but I feel like I'm getting much more of the days now of what I need to get done, what time. Forcing myself to get up early, work out, early. So that's done. So you're motivated, ready for the day. Otherwise it's overwhelming. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say it's not overwhelming, but that's just kind of part of it, of you having to struggle and then figure out what's going to make this work.
Yeah. Cody, you've been doing this for a while now. Like you kind of probably are in more or less of a routine, but did you experience the same sort of thing?
Yeah. And I feel like it hasn't changed for me. That's probably a terrible message, but I feel like it's still always just the chaotic feeling of you have so many things that you want to do and there's just never enough time. I do think that, talking about the work-life balance, if you and your spouse can be on the same page where it's not just, I want to work because I don't want to be around the family or anything. It's just, hey, I just need to do this little thing, and understanding that I don't plan on working every evening, every night, every weekend. But when stuff does come up, it's because it's something that's important and need to be done. And this is for our family. And time blocking, like what you said, Christina, is huge for me. I'm terrible at it. But once I start to get in a good routine, it really changes your whole outlook on the day, because instead of just sitting there going, man, I don't know how I'm going to get through all this stuff, you go, all right, well, this is my hour to knock this stuff out. And whatever I don't do, then I need to do it later. But I need to move on to the next thing so that I can actually be productive today.
Yeah. And I think like what we've found and what Christina's finding is like in our industry, nothing happens overnight. And so the things that you don't do now don't show you, nothing happens. You don't have clients, you don't lose clients. You start to see what the results of your work 6 months from now. And I think you start to, by being consistent time blocking now, it may seem like it's fruitless, but in 6 months from now, that's when you get the reward. And I think that's what new people have an issue coming in, is you want that kind of, I always liken it to a brick and mortar coffee shop. Like you want to sell a coffee, make money, sell a coffee, make money. And in our industry, it's just not the case. Even if you had a client today, you're 30 to 45 days out from actually receiving any compensation for that. So it's a long-term game. And I think time planning and time blocking is huge for us, and staying consistent with it is huge, because that keeps that funnel going long-term versus that kind of wave of success that you can see in real estate and in lending.
Yeah. And having a short-term memory where it's like, you don't get too high when things are good, and you don't get too low when they're bad. And it's just kind of, every day is a new day, and you almost got to have that mental reset that, yesterday was not great, but today's a whole new day. And all it takes is one phone call, one meeting, one something. And it's like, bam, that just changes your whole day and outlook on everything.
And it generally happens, that phone call comes in when you're just getting ready for vacation. normal.
Yes.
That's
Right.
always the joke, but it's actually true that you're starting to slow down or you're starting to mentally think about something else. And then you get all the calls to list their house, which is great. I love doing it,
Yes.
but it's
Yeah.
that's how it
I think
goes.
my parents have always said business is always booming when they're on vacation.
Yeah.
But they're able to work and play. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
leading to that though, Christina, like your parents have a unique way. I know we get a lot of questions of how spouses work together. How do you how do you live and work and play all in the same field? And your parents had a unique way, not necessarily a unique way, but they had a different way than we do it. If you could start to explain, I'll just say that your parents were very intertwined with each deal. Your dad was more the back end, your mom was more the face of the deal and the communicator in the deals. Can you kind of speak on that a little bit, but also more of how we decided when we got in how our relationship can last and we can have a successful career? Because it's not easy to say, I think some people do see it as like, oh yeah, I can work with my spouse. It's great, especially in those newlywed years. But it's hard.
Well, we're
And
way
so
beyond that. So
we've been through it. So, but I just wanted to explain to some people that are looking into that sort of thing of how we do it maybe a little bit differently than what maybe a traditional thought process is how we do real estate.
yeah, no, I mean, I think looking at this, we found, we both worked full careers. So, those listening might not realize that you had a 15-year career with the state police. I had my 15-year career in, corporate banking. So we know a lot of the same people, but we have full careers and lives that we've lived, people we've grown up with as well, that we're still really well networked with and love to work with personally. So I think we found we're not necessarily our best when we're working on the same things together all the time. That said, mentoring, talking, bouncing everything off our ideas. I think what we really found is let's figure out our strengths and how can we leverage those. For instance, figure out, like I dive into the details, I dive into compliance, I dive into processes. Like that is my thing. And I know not all those are always your favorite things. So I can say like, hey, I can invest my energy into learning, planning, setting those routines that we can both use. You can put your energy, looking at our marketing, our processes, looking at that forward proactive approach. And we've really found, I'm still new, so we don't have everything dialed in, but we do have a lot of joint people that we're friends with, working with, both communicating with. And, like I said, we want to take care of everyone that we're working with, and we're both here and always available to do that for everyone. But as for like both working each transaction, at this point, we're not doing that. Who knows? We could see that things might change, but I think one thing that's nice is like we want to be flexible. What's going to work? What's going to work for us personally and what's going to work for us professionally? This is kind of where we're starting, kind of both running our businesses as agents and then collaborating on what we can each do better and how we can help each other.
For sure. For sure.
So you're kind of, sorry, as you're getting the transition of everything right now, I know it might be kind of hard to do, but where do you see yourself and your business in 5 years? If you can look that far ahead and have a plan or a goal, is it any different than what you're doing now? Are you looking to build a team, or where do you see yourself in 5 years with the business?
Yeah, I mean, well, that might be more of a question for Joe, but yeah, I mean, we definitely want to grow, in real estate, kind of the whole team environment, whether, within EXP, we do have teams and you can mentor, kind of how formal or informal that is. I'll be honest, I'm not sure. I think a lot of it is going to vary based on what we morph into together, how that ends up looking, and my vision is like we continue to build this, get really integrated in our community. That's something we already do naturally and love being a part of our kids community, our Wilsonville community, and just, continuing to make an impact there. As far as kind of what the team looks like, yeah, I definitely want to grow. I don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. Definitely have some some thoughts on where our future office space could be and look like. So just exciting things to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough because having a team adds your own stresses. It adds a whole new set of stresses. I think people get into this career thinking, "Oh, I'm going to build this team, and then I can sit back and watch them all do well, and I succeed in turn." And you may take a step back from the actual day-to-day business of buying and selling, but now you're mentoring employees, you're making sure they're compliant, you're making sure. So there's a whole bunch of stresses that I think that when I got in, I was like, okay, build the team, because that's how you build wealth and grow and have more time. And I think the more I talk to people that are in that are like, man, it's not like that. Like, it's not that easy. You're just getting calls from different people. It's more of your agents versus a buyer or a seller. So we're kind of in that stage of just not really sure, kind of where we are right now and what we want to do. But I think, going on that and not to harp too much on it, as I think Christina and I kind of just find our success is, a lot of people go with your GCI or how much, how many homes you sold or how many, what's your average monthly thing. And I think, almost based on your parents, Christina, and our goals is like, we define our success by how much we have the ability to, go to our family stuff and go to and be together as a family. And so, indirectly, that means that we're getting compensated well enough to do that. However, that is not how we have decided to define, are we good at real estate? The fact that we can go to our kids' stuff, we can do that sort of stuff is kind of how we go with it, besides the bragging numbers, which is always nice to do the bragging. But I think for us, and how her parents treated her clients, it was just very personal versus a very monetary, that it can get very monetary here and very
that we're living the lifestyle that we want with the people we want, with people that we love, and it puts us in good position to foster all of that. Ultimately, that's what's important. So
for sure. And so Christina, you have I'm sure that you have a lot of internal challenges and things like that, but I think it's to give people an idea, new agents or agents that are thinking about coming in, or business owners that are thinking about going in and on their own and leaving a salaried job with a 401k and a retirement and all this stuff. What sort of challenges are you having now? And you don't have to be overcoming them necessarily, but what sort of challenges are you facing jumping into that new world and that new mental process?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just state the obvious, fear of failure. I'm a perfectionist, and I don't know if perfectionist, everything has to be perfect, but definitely fear of failure. I like to be the best at the things that I do, but I find that tends to make me work hard enough that I'm then going to succeed at what I can do. And I would say I finally was at the point of leaving and coming into this that I know I can do it. But I think you get the pit in your stomach, worried, was that the right decision? Can I do this? All of the above. So, one of those things like, when you leave something, of course you need to spend time, talk to your financial advisor, spend time looking at your resources, utilizing your real estate. So, I would say we practice what we preach. We've utilized real estate to make a lot of changes over the years. We utilize that, sold houses, rented houses, changed things up. So at one point I quit my job so I could stay home when we had our daughter, and we've been able to really leverage that to make decisions. So that's another reason, both of us really believe in real estate, because it's given us a lot of ability to leverage it to make big changes in our life when we want to. So I would say the biggest challenge is just fear of failing. And, one thing, piece of advice, I will get the analysis paralysis real badly. And you're like, just do it. If it's not perfect, then do it better the next time. Anything you put online is gone before too long, But, I just want to compliment both of you of just like getting in and doing it. And I struggle with that a lot. And Joe will tell you, I resist on that a lot. I want to plan it. I want it to be perfect. So, I'm always critiquing details. That's just what I do. So I try to take the feedback of just get started.
I think that's great advice, because Joe has actually been an inspiration to me to help kind of push me along with some of the stuff too, because it's, from the consumer's perspective, perfect doesn't really matter, but for the person who's trying to put it together, it's like, there's so many little things. But I think as far as what is being viewed, in a lot of times, it's not perfect, but nobody knows it's not perfect because they're not paying attention to all those little details that you, as the person that's putting it all together, is. So
For sure.
Joe's the guy that's just leading the ship here.
Keep going. Keep talking about me. This is like going well. This podcast is going great.
You didn't tell me that this is how you were going to direct all the questions.
I'm just going to sit back here and just listen and just let the audience listen to what you guys have to say about me. But no, I think you might have answered it, Christina. But I think, before we let you go, I just wanted to ask one more question of kind of what, if you had to give someone advice, either thinking about getting in or is in and maybe struggling, because this market is not COVID. So agents that saw COVID and were like, oh yeah, that's a great way to make money or a great business to start, are hitting a big wall right now with the rates how they are. So if you could give any advice to someone that's either thinking about coming in and or is in and kind of struggling, what would you say has helped you, or tell them to stay out, or what?
No, I wouldn't say to stay out. Like I said, I've watched my family in real estate for my whole entire life. I've seen the ups and downs, and the biggest advice that I can take from what I've seen and what I've grown up with is just being a genuine person and having relationships with people. When you're caring about them and putting them at the forefront, that creates a referral business. Of course, you've got to market. So I will say, from more that side, consistency. Like you said, if you get busy, you still have to be consistent. And if you're, whether you're slow or you're busy, you got to be consistent. And no matter what, you've got to put the people you're working with first. When you're building relationships and being genuine, being authentic and caring about them, that word of mouth and referral is what's going to keep you going. I saw that keep my parents going through a lot of really difficult times, and it's not always great, but I understand that with real estate, it's not a short game. Like you say, it's a long game, and it's always going on. So
for sure. And you see that, I think that, not to down on the agents that are dropping out of the industry, I do think that they either started with a poor mindset or they didn't build that referral network and treat, when things are good, you see a lot of agents come in and people are widgets, push them through because I can make this much money if I can do this many deals and if I can do this many people. But, I think what your parents and what we've ingrained in our business is like to treat every person, whether they are selling a $200,000 house or whether they're selling a $2.5 million house, that they're getting the same treatment, that they are $1 million seller or buyer, and they will be treated like that. And I think that's what makes you the long-term success versus that kind of high of like, okay, everyone's selling and buying, so any Joe Schmuck can sell a house, to when times are low, you have those clients that rely on you, and you don't have to kind of sell yourself as much when you can treat them like that and your reputation precedes that. So anyways, thank you, Christina, for your time. If you want to contact her, go through me. I'm just kidding. Go through Skipper Realty Group. We have a website, joeskipperrealty.com. Christina's number we'll put in here as well if you wanted to talk to her about buying, selling, or just kind of the journey that she's been through, kind of the struggles that she's going through. I know that, I had those struggles and I really didn't have anyone to kind of look to for that. And it would have been helpful for me to have someone kind of be in the trenches with me. So if you are looking for that, if you want to talk to Christina more about her journey, let her know, give her a ring. Cody and I are available if you want to sell or buy. But other than that, thank you, Christina, so much. And no, they can buy and sell with you as well. But no, I just thank you, Christina. I think your journey's been a good one. I think it's been cool to see that. And I think it's going to be cool to see how you grow and how you go from here. But I think it's going to be even more helpful to agents and entrepreneurs that are in this industry or getting into the industry to hear from someone that's in the trenches and is struggling to do what they're doing, or not that you're struggling, but you know what I'm saying, that mental kind of
going through the daily grind.
So thank you so much. We'll end it now, and thank you guys for staying tuned until our next time. We'll see you, Cody. See you, Christina.
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you, Christina.
All right. Okay. Thank you both.
All right.